Hello everyone, my name is Shlenyova Anastassiya, and the topic of my research paper is the role of phraseological units in constructing persuasive political narratives in online media discourse in British news portals. This article investigates the pragmatic and ideological functions of phraseological units in British political media discourse. Drawing on authentic data from recent publications by The Guardian and BBC News, it explores how idiomatic expressions operate as tools of persuasion and symbolic control. The study reveals that phraseological units encode complex social, political meanings and emotional evaluations. Relevance of the topic is due to the fact that in modern world, media plays a huge role in shaping public consciousness and creating public opinion. In media discourse, phraseological units are often used to enhance expressiveness of a message, create emotional coloring, and establish emotional contact with the audience. Phraseological units, also referred as idioms, collocations, and fixed expressions, are key components of contemporary media language, particularly in political journalism. In English language political discourse, phraseological units function not merely as stylistic embellishments, but as powerful semiotic tools that encapsulate ideological meanings, convey emotional evaluations, and shape public opinion. The choice of English language mass media texts as an object of study is due to their prevalence and significance in the global information space. BBC News and The Guardian are the leading impartial news portals in the UK. By embedding phraseological units in news narratives, media outlets promote particular mental models of political actors and events. These models become part of the audience's common sense understanding of the world, facilitating a discursive hegemony. The first example of phraseological unit is flat out. Pragmatically, it functions to justify governmental actions and possible delays by projecting an image of industriousness in shaping public consciousness. Such usage cultivates the perception of hard-working government fully committed to national interests. The next one, lift a finger. As a manipulative strategy, it effectively deploys moral judgment and contrastive rhetoric to discredit political opponents. Pragmatically, in this context, it serves to shame Donald Trump for his passivity and selective indifference here. Nerves jangling. These phraseological units evokes fear and urgency to justify decisive governance. Pragmatically, it allows for indirect critique by portraying emotional unease within political parties without overly assigning blame. The next one is Pandora's box. The phrase semantically represents a situation spiraling out of control, while pragmatically evoking fear about European decisions. This fosters skepticism and emotional urgency through mythological imagery and narrative fatalism. Play games is frequently used to describe adversaries, especially in the context of Russia. For example, warnings that Putin is playing games with ceasefire talks portray him as insincere and manipulative. The phrase semantically frames the opponent as morally lacking, while pragmatically justifying distrust and hardline responses. Watershed moment. The phrase elevates political shifts to historical inevitabilities, portraying policy changes as progress. It legitimizes transformation and creates a sense of urgency. It manipulates perception by equating government action with necessary evolution. Speak volumes. In discussions about Russian artists' silence on war, the idiom encourages readers to infer guilt or complicity. Semantically, it manipulates by pressuring individuals to speak, weaponizing silence as a stance. Boots on the ground is often to discuss military involvement without directly invoking war. In discourse around Ukraine, political figures opposing boots on the ground frame military restraint as responsible and rational. It softens the reality of war, presenting diplomacy as mature leadership while guiding public opinion toward non-intervention. Play part. King Charles, being determined to play part in diplomacy, frames his ceremonial role as meaningful. It manipulates effective association, linking royalty with civic responsibility and quiet interference. An analysis of idiomatic expression in British political media discourse reveals several systematic tendencies that align with broader strategies of persuasion and ideological framing. One prominent tendency is emotional intensification and moral judgment. Here, phraseological units are employed to amplify emotional perception of political events, guiding readers towards sympathy, outrage, or distrust. Another common tendency is the construction of political competence and local authority. Here, this expression helps construct the image of capable and proactive leadership, justifying political decision and enhancing institutional legitimacy. third tendency involves polarization and the framing of political conflict as a struggle between in-groups and out-groups. In this way, phraseological units reinforce a binary worldview in which we are rational and principled actors, whereas they are dangerous or morally compromised. In conclusion, phraseological units in British political media discourse are more than stylistic devices. They are tools of ideological persuasion and public manipulation. They serve not to inform, but to frame, emotionally, morally, and politically. Phraseological units intensify the perceived negativity of opponents, reinforce the legitimacy of those in power, and shape public consciousness through accessible yet ideologically loaded language. As such, they play a significant role in the discursive construction of political reality in modern democratic societies.